All right, let's start with a really wild thought. What if everything you think you know about your own mind is wrong? What if those deep beliefs, those hidden desires, that rich inner world you feel you have, just isn't there? I know, it sounds crazy. But today, we're diving into a really radical idea from behavioral scientist Nick Chater, and trust me, it's going to flip your understanding of the mind completely on its head.
And boom, here it is. This is the quote that sets the whole thing off. Chater is basically saying, look, the big mystery isn't that it's hard to figure out what's deep inside our minds. The real mystery is that there are no depths to figure out. He argues our minds aren't these vast, mysterious oceans we need to explore. Nope, they're more like a shallow pond, where everything is happening right there on the surface. And that's the core idea we're going to unpack together.
So for forever, really, the go-to metaphor for the mind has been the iceberg. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Our conscious thoughts are just that little tip you see sticking out of the water. But underneath, oh, that's where the real action is. A massive, hidden unconscious, lurking down there, secretly driving everything we do. It's a super compelling image, but what if it's just completely wrong?
And this slide just lays it all out, side by side. On one hand, you have the classic view. We're like psychological archaeologists, digging deep to find these pre-formed beliefs and feelings. But Chater's view, it's totally different. He says we're more like brilliant improvisers, making it all up as we go along. And think about what that means. It implies there's no fixed, true self to go find. There's just the performance, the continuous creative act of being conscious.
Okay, so if we're going to challenge this huge idea of mental depth, where do we even begin? Well, according to Chater, the first crack in the whole iceberg theory starts with something we do every single second: perception. Just seeing. We all think we see the world exactly as it is, right? But the reality is so much weirder.
So let me ask you, right now, just look around the room you're in. Do you feel like you're taking in this complete, high-definition, panoramic picture of everything, all at once? I mean, of course you do, right? Most of us would say yes without even thinking. But just hold that thought for a second.
Because what you're experiencing is something scientists call the grand illusion. It's this incredibly powerful but ultimately mistaken belief that we see a full, complete world. The truth is, your brain is only processing a teeny tiny fragment of what's in front of you at any given moment. It's a total magic trick.
And check this out. This is how it works. Your vision is only crystal clear in this one tiny spot in the center, called the fovea. Seriously, everything else is just a blur. And when you're reading this, you're not seeing the whole sentence. You're only processing one meaningful word at a time. And we've all seen those crazy inattentional blindness videos, right? Where people are so focused on counting basketball passes, they completely miss a guy in a gorilla suit walking through the middle of the screen. So here's the kicker. Your brain is just a master editor, stitching together these tiny little fragments of information to create the feeling of a whole complete scene.
All right, so if our perception of the outside world is basically a clever construction, what does that say about our inner world? What about our feelings? I mean, our emotions. Surely those are real. They have to be, right? They bubble up from somewhere deep inside us, don't they?
And that's the million-dollar question. Is the feeling of, say, anger or happiness a pre-existing thing that just bursts out of you? Or, and this is the radical part, is it an interpretation that your brain creates on the spot based on what your body's doing and what's happening around you?
This classic film experiment, the Kuleshov effect, illustrates this perfectly. So filmmakers took a shot of an actor with a totally neutral expression. They showed it to an audience, but right after, they spliced in a shot of a bowl of soup. The audience, they said, "Wow, he looks hungry." Then they took the exact same neutral face, but this time paired it with an image of a child in a coffin. Now, the audience saw profound grief. Same face again, but paired with an attractive woman, and suddenly they saw lust. The actor's face never, ever changed. The emotion wasn't in the face. It was invented by the viewer, completely based on the context. How wild is that?
And this quote just nails it. Our feelings don't just burst out. They don't pre-exist at all. They are the brain's best guess in the moment. I mean, think about it. Your heart is pounding. Is that excitement or is that fear? Well, if you're strapped into a roller coaster, your brain interprets it as excitement. But if you're walking down a dark alley late at night, that same physical sensation is interpreted as fear. The feeling is the story, not some raw data bubbling up from your depths. It's an interpretation.
Okay, so let's recap. Our perceptions are constructed. Our feelings are interpreted. You can probably see where this is headed, can't you? What about our choices, our beliefs, the reasons we give for the things we do? Yeah,
maybe those are just improvised too.
And this is where the evidence gets really wild. Scientists got this incredible peek into how the mind works by studying split-brain patients. These are people who, for medical reasons, had the connection between the two halves of their brain severed. And what they found gives us this unbelievable window into how our brain justifies itself.
So here's the deal. The left hemisphere of your brain, the part that handles language, is basically a storyteller. It's an interpreter. In one famous experiment, a patient's right brain, the nonverbal side, was shown a picture of a snowy scene. So their left hand, controlled by the right brain, pointed to a picture of a shovel. Makes sense. But here's the thing. The left brain, the talker, didn't see the snow scene. It only saw a picture of a chicken. When the scientist asked, "Why did you point to the shovel?" the left brain didn't say, "I don't know." No way. It instantly invented a story. It said, "Oh, that's easy. You need a shovel to clean out the chicken coop." It just made up a reason on the spot to explain an action it didn't understand. It's a story-spinning machine.
And don't think this is just something that happens in split-brain patients. Nope, this happens to all of us. It's called choice blindness. In these experiments, people are shown two photos of faces and asked to pick the one they find more attractive. Then, using a bit of sleight of hand, the researcher hands them the photo they didn't choose and asks, "So, why did you pick this one?" And you won't believe it, most people don't even notice the switch. They just launch into a detailed explanation for why they chose a face that they literally just rejected. It just goes to show how incredibly good we are at inventing reasons for our choices after the fact.
Okay, let's pull all these threads together. We've seen that our perception is a kind of illusion. We've seen that our feelings are interpretations we create in the moment. And we've seen that the reasons for our choices are often stories we spin after the fact. So, what does that all mean? Let's get to the big reveal.
And here it is. This is the heart of it all. Forget the deep ocean, forget the iceberg. The mind, chatter says, is a flat surface. It's a masterful improviser, a creative genius that takes all the little fragments, sensory input, scraps of memory, bits of past experience, and weaves them together into a coherent story, just for this one moment. And then, the moment passes, and it does it all over again. Our entire mental life isn't something we have. It's something we do. It's a constant, brilliant, fleeting act of creation.
You know, we always love to compare the brain to a computer, but Chatter argues that's exactly the wrong way to think about it. A digital computer is phenomenally fast at logic and rules. Your brain, it's actually dreadfully slow at that stuff. The brain's superpower isn't brute force calculation, it's something much more human. It's all about creative, cooperative interpretation using patterns from the past.
So, what's the secret sauce of human intelligence then? Well, it's not about following strict principles or logical rules. It's about precedent. It's about analogy. Every new thought you have is basically a creative remix of your past thoughts, re-engineered for whatever you're facing right now. Your memory isn't a database you query for facts. It's more like a giant box of Legos for improvisation. And that's what intelligence really is, this incredible, astonishing flexibility to make old stuff deal with new stuff. Which, of course, brings us to the final, massive question this whole idea forces us to ask ourselves. If there are no hidden depths, no stable inner you, no preformed beliefs just waiting to be discovered, if your mind is just a story it's telling itself, brand new in every single moment, then who or what are you? It's a pretty mind-bending thought to leave you with, and it's the core challenge of this whole idea that the mind is flat.